What if I told you James Brown got called a screamer, not a singer, and still became the Godfather of Soul? People said it wasn't music, he made it a movement. These are black musicians who were mocked for their singing, but still became stars. First, Billie Holiday. Lady Day, as the legendary saxophonist Lester Young nicknamed her, was born Eleanora Fagan in Philadelphia in 1915. Her early life was tough, filled with challenges that would later pour into the soulful ache of her music. She started singing in Harlem nightclubs in the early 1930s, and right away, her style was like nothing else. She didn't have the booming vocal power of someone like Bessie Smith. Instead, she had this incredible way of phrasing, almost like a jazz horn player. She would stretch out words, lag just behind the beat, and infuse every syllable with intense emotion. Her voice, especially in her early years, had a delicate, vulnerable quality. Critics and some listeners, used to more straightforward, powerful blues and jazz singers, were sometimes puzzled. Was she really in control? Why did she play with the melody so much? Some found her style too subtle or her vocal range limited. As her life went on, marked by personal struggles including addiction, her voice took on a more raw, fragile, and even weathered quality. This later sound, full of pain and resilience, was even more divisive for some, who might have seen it as a decline. But for many others, this was where her artistry reached its deepest, most profound level. Songs like Strange Fruit, a haunting protest against lynching, or the heartbreaking Gloomy Sunday showcased her incredible ability to convey deep, complex emotions with just a slight bend of a note or a breathy whisper. She wasn't just singing lyrics, she was living them. Today, she's hailed as one of the most influential jazz vocalists of all time, precisely because of that unique, emotionally direct style that set her apart. Singers still study her phrasing, her timing, and her unparalleled ability to make a song her own. 2. Louis Armstrong, affectionately known as Satchmo or Pops, was born in New Orleans in 1901, right in the heart of where jazz music was just starting to bubble up. He was a trumpet virtuoso first, a true innovator who basically laid the groundwork for jazz improvisation with his brilliant horn playing. His singing career started a bit later, almost as an aside. The story often told is that he started singing more prominently after dropping his sheet music during a recording of Heebie-Jeebies in 1926 and decided to scat sing using nonsense syllables instead. Whether that's the exact moment or not, his vocal style was just as revolutionary as his trumpet playing. That voice! It was a deep, raspy, gravelly sound, completely unlike the smooth crooners who were popular. When he first started letting that voice loose on records, many people were probably taken aback. It wasn't pretty in the conventional sense. Some might have even found it comical or rough. But what it had in spades was personality, warmth, and an infectious joy. Armstrong didn't just sing notes, he radiated charisma. Think of his version of "Hello, Dolly," or the timeless "What a Wonderful World." He showed that personality and feeling could be just as powerful, if not more so. 3. James Brown, the Godfather of Soul, Mr. Dynamite, Soul Brother #1. The man had many names, all trying to capture his incredible energy. Born in South Carolina in 1933, he overcame a very poor and difficult childhood to become a musical force of nature. His early music was rooted in gospel and R&B, but he quickly forged his own path. His vocal style was less about melodic crooning and all about rhythm, power, and raw emotion. He'd punctuate his songs with sharp grunts, "Good God," screams, yelps, and spoken phrases, treating his voice like another percussive instrument in his super-tight band. For listeners expecting smooth melodies and polished vocals, James Brown's style could be jarring. Some critics and audience members might have dismissed it as just shouting or noise, not real singing. They might have wondered why he wasn't focusing on carrying a tune in the traditional way. But what they might have missed was that he was inventing a whole new musical language: funk. Songs like "Papa's Got a Brand New Bag," "I Got You," I Feel Good, and Get Up, I Feel Like Being an Intimate Machine were built on his incredible rhythmic command and vocal intensity. His performances were legendary for their energy, his dance moves, and the way he controlled his band with shouts and cues. He wasn't just a singer. He was a band leader, a showman. He proved that the feeling and the rhythm could be the whole point. 4. Diana Ross. Born in Detroit in 1944, became the glamorous face and distinctive voice of Motown as the lead singer of the Supremes, one of the best-selling girl groups of all time. Her voice was notably different from many of the powerhouse soul singers of the era, like Aretha Franklin or Etta James. Ross's voice was lighter, with a breathier, more girlish timbre. It was clear, precise, and perfectly suited for pop radio. However, this very quality led to some criticism. Some reviewers and listeners felt her voice was thin, lacked emotional depth, or didn't have the raw power associated with traditional soul music. Compared to the grittier sounds coming out of Stax Records or Atlantic, Motown's polished sound, with Ross's vocals at the forefront, was sometimes seen as too commercial or less authentic by soul purists. But Berry Gordy, Motown's founder, knew exactly what he was doing. Ross's elegant delivery and universal appeal helped the Supremes cross over to mainstream white audiences in a way few black artists had before. Hits like Where Did Our Love Go?, Baby Love, and Stop. In the Name of Love were perfectly crafted pop gems, and her voice, with its unique blend of vulnerability and yearning, was central to their charm. She proved that a voice doesn't have to be loud to be powerful, and that sweet can be incredibly successful. 5. Grace Jones. Born in Jamaica in 1948 and later moving to New York, is an artist who defies easy categorization. She started as a model, with her androgynous looks and statuesque physique making her a sensation. When she moved into music in the late 1970s, her vocal style was as unconventional as her image. She often employed a deep, almost monotone, spoken-word delivery, or a kind of detached, cool singing that was far removed from traditional pop or soul vocals. Her music blended disco, reggae, new wave, and art pop. For those expecting soaring melodies or virtuosic vocal runs, Grace Jones's style could be perplexing. Was she really singing, or was it more like performance art set to music? Some critics might have found her vocals limited or overly stylized. But her unique, often deadpan delivery, combined with her powerful stage presence and cutting-edge visual aesthetic, often created with artist Jean-Paul Goude, made her a true icon. Albums like Warm Leatherette, Night Clubbing, and Slave to the Rhythm are considered classics of the era. Songs like Pull Up to the Bumper and My Jamaican Guy showcased her distinctive vocal approach, which was all about attitude, atmosphere, and rhythmic precision. She wasn't just a singer, she was a multimedia artist who used her voice as one tool in her arsenal of expression, influencing countless artists in music, fashion, and art who dared to be different. 6. Macy Gray. Born Natalie McIntyre in Canton, Ohio in 1967, possesses one of the most instantly recognizable and unconventional voices in modern popular music. When her debut album On How Life Is dropped in 1999 and the single I Try became a global smash, her voice was the first thing everyone talked about. It's a high-pitched, incredibly raspy, almost scratchy sound, often compared to Billie Holiday or Betty Davis, but distinctly her own. She delivers her lyrics with a unique, sometimes quirky, and laid-back phrasing. At first, such an unusual voice definitely took some people by surprise. Some might have found it jarring, an acquired taste, or even thought it was an affectation. Was it real? Could she sing any other way? I Try earned her a Grammy Award for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance. Her music blends soul, R&B, jazz, and rock, and her voice, for all its quirks, is capable of conveying a wide range of emotions from vulnerability to sass. She proved that a voice doesn't have to be smooth or conventionally pretty to be deeply soulful and hugely successful. Her distinctiveness is her strength. 7. Biz Markie. The Clown Prince of hip-hop was a pioneering beatboxer, a charismatic DJ, and a rapper with a playful and humorous style. While he had many beloved tracks, his 1989 hit Just a Friend cemented his place in pop culture history, largely due to its hilariously and intentionally off-key singing in the chorus. Biz warbled the melody with such enthusiastic lack of pitch that it became an instant classic. Many people, upon first hearing it, probably burst out laughing and thought, "This guy absolutely cannot sing a note." And in a traditional sense, they were right. The singing is, objectively, technically bad, but that was entirely the point. Biz wasn't trying to be a smooth R&B crooner. He was capturing the raw, relatable emotion of a guy lamenting about being just a friend and doing it in a way that was funny, endearing, and incredibly catchy. Biz Markie embraced his vocal shortcomings and turned them into a beloved signature, proving that humor, personality, and a catchy hook can be far more memorable than perfect pitch. He showed it was okay not to take yourself too seriously. 8. Old Dirty Bastard, better known as Old Dirty Bastard or ODB, Big Baby Jesus, Dirt McGirt, he had many aliases, was a founding member of the groundbreaking hip-hop collective Wu-Tang Clan. Born in Brooklyn in 1968, ODB was arguably the group's most eccentric and unpredictable member, and his vocal style was a huge part of that. He didn't just rap, he slurred, he sang often way off-key, he screeched, he ranted, he harmonized with himself in bizarre ways. His flow was often erratic, his lyrics surreal and comedic. For listeners accustomed to more conventional rap deliveries, ODB's style could be utterly baffling, even off-putting. Was he serious? Did he even know what he was doing? Some critics and fans might have found his contributions messy or just plain weird. But his raw, unfiltered, and completely unique approach was also a massive part of his appeal and influence. Tracks like Shimmy Shimmy Ya and Got Your Money showcased his one-of-a-kind charisma. He represented a kind of freedom and a rejection of polish that resonated with many. 9. DMX. DMX, Darkman X, exploded onto the hip-hop scene in the late 1990s with a ferocity that was undeniable. Born in Mount Vernon, New York in 1970, and having endured a very difficult upbringing, DMX channeled his struggles, his faith, and his raw aggression into his music. His vocal delivery was a key part of his impact, a raspy, gravelly voice that he often pushed into an intense bark or a guttural growl. He didn't just deliver lyrics, he spat them out with conviction. This wasn't smooth, laid-back rap. It was confrontational, raw, and often dark. For those who preferred more melodic or polished hip-hop, DMX's style could be perceived as overly aggressive, like he was just shouting or being needlessly intimidating. Albums like It's Dark and Hell is Hot and Then There Was X were massive successes. His prayers on his albums also showcased a vulnerable side. DMX's voice was a direct conduit for his pain, his anger, and his spirit, making him one of the most distinctive and emotionally resonant voices in rap history. 10th Future. Known worldwide as Future is a dominant force in contemporary hip-hop, particularly in the trap subgenre. Born in Atlanta in 1983, he rose to prominence in the early 2000s and 10s. A signature element of his sound is his heavy use of auto-tune, creating warbled, melodic, and often melancholic vocal textures. His delivery can also be quite mumbled or slurred, with a focus on flow and vibe over crisp enunciation. This style has been a frequent target of criticism, especially from hip-hop purists or those who value lyrical clarity and traditional vocal skill. Detractors argue that the auto-tune is a crutch, that his lyrics are often unintelligible, or that his subject matter is repetitive. They might ask, can he really rap or sing without all those effects? However, Future's impact is undeniable. He has crafted a distinct sound that is both commercially successful and highly influential, with countless artists adopting similar auto-tune-heavy melodic styles. Tracks like Mask Off, March Madness, and his collaborations with Drake have become major hits. For his fans, the appeal lies in the emotional atmosphere he creates, the often dark, hazy, and introspective moods conveyed through his unique vocal processing and melodic sensibility. He's a vibe creator. 11th Young Thug. Known as Young Thug, hails from Atlanta and emerged in the 2000s and 10s as one of hip-hop's most eccentric and influential figures. His vocal style is incredibly experimental and unpredictable. He stretches his voice into high-pitched yelps, incorporates mumbles and screeches, shifts his flow and cadence abruptly, and often uses his voice more like a malleable instrument than a traditional rapping tool. He can go from a guttural growl to a sing-song melody in the same verse. This radical approach to vocal delivery has certainly been polarizing. Critics and some listeners have found his style bizarre, incoherent, or even annoying. The question, "What is he even saying?" often comes up. Some have dismissed it as lacking substance or traditional skill. But Young Thug's fearless experimentation and unique sonic palette have also earned him widespread acclaim and a dedicated following. His projects like Barter 6 and So Much Fun showcase his avant-garde approach, proving that in art, sometimes the weirdest voices are the most forward-thinking. 12th, Playboi Carti. Known as Playboi Carti, is another Atlanta artist who has made a massive impact with a highly unconventional vocal style. He's particularly known for his baby voice, a high-pitched, almost childlike delivery, and his minimalist approach to lyrics, often focusing on ad-libs what, slat, repetition, and overall vibe rather than complex storytelling. His beats are often ethereal and energetic, creating a hypnotic soundscape. Carti's style, especially on albums like Die Lit and Whole Lotta Red, has been met with a lot of confusion and mockery from those who prefer more traditional lyrical rap. Critics have called it simplistic, nonsensical, or even unlistenable. The baby voice in particular became a target for ridicule. Yet, he has cultivated a massive and incredibly loyal fan base. Playboi Carti represents a significant shift in hip-hop, where mood, sound, and raw energy can be just as important, if not more so, than intricate lyricism or conventional vocal technique, challenging what rap should sound like. 13th, Flavor Flav. Universally known as Flavor Flav, is the iconic hype man for the legendary political hip-hop group Public Enemy. Born in Roosevelt, New York in 1959, Flav's role in the group was unique. While Chuck D delivered the powerful, politically charged rhymes, Flavor Flav was the vibrant, comical, and attention-grabbing counterpoint. His vocal contributions consisted mainly of ad-libs "Yay Boy," catchphrases, call and response shouts, and his signature Flavor Flav interjections, all delivered with boundless energy. He wasn't a traditional rapper or singer in the group's songs. Because his role was so unconventional and his vocal contributions weren't melodic or lyrically complex in a traditional sense, many people might have simply seen him as the loud guy with the clock or a comedic sidekick, not necessarily a musician in his own right. Some might have found his interjections distracting from Chuck D's serious messages. But Flavor Flav was absolutely crucial to Public Enemy's dynamic and their appeal. He proved that a vocalist in a group doesn't always have to be the lead singer or the main rapper. Sometimes being the ultimate hype man is a legendary role in itself. 14th, Mystical. Known as Mystical, hails from New Orleans and hit the scene with an incredibly distinctive and high-energy vocal style. His delivery is fast, sharp, and often sounds like a percussive barrage, almost like a military drill instructor rapping. His voice has a particular tight, sometimes gravelly timbre that cuts through beats with incredible force. Think of hits like Shake Ya Ass or Danger Been So Long. This intense, almost shouting style is far from a relaxed conversational flow. For some, it might have been overwhelming, too aggressive, or lacking in melodic subtlety. The speed and force of his delivery could sometimes make it hard to decipher every lyric on first listen. He wasn't a crooner or a smooth talker on the mic. But that very intensity and unique rhythmic attack were his trademarks. He brought an incredible energy to his tracks and performances that was unmatched. Mystical's voice and style were pure, unadulterated Louisiana bounce and Southern hip-hop energy, proving that sometimes sheer power and a one-of-a-kind delivery are all you need to make a massive impact. 15th, Busta Rhymes. Known as Busta Rhymes, originally from Brooklyn, New York, is celebrated for his outrageous energy, complex rhymes, and incredibly versatile vocal delivery. From his early days with leaders of the new school to his massive solo career, Busta has always stood out. He can rap at incredible speeds chopper style, switch flows effortlessly, and inject his verses with a whole cast of character voices, growls, shouts, and comedic inflections. Think of his verse on A Tribe Called Quest's Scenario, or his own hits like Woo-Ha, Got You All in Check, and Gimme Some More. While his technical skill is undeniable, his highly animated and sometimes over-the-top style might have been perceived by some traditionalists as gimmicky or less serious than more stoic MCs. His ability to combine complex rhyming patterns with such a dynamic and entertaining vocal performance is rare. He has consistently pushed the boundaries of creativity in hip-hop, proving that technical skill and wild showmanship can go hand in hand to create something truly legendary. 16. Chance the Rapper. Known as Chance the Rapper, from Chicago, emerged in the 2000s and 10s with a sound that blended gospel, soul, jazz, and hip-hop, often with an uplifting and optimistic message. His vocal style is a key part of his unique appeal. He often employs a sing-song delivery, incorporating yelps, ad-libs like his signature I, and a conversational, almost storytelling flow that can feel both playful and earnest. Some have found his delivery to be somewhat amateurish or lacking the technical polish or aggressive edge of other rappers. They might have questioned if his often cheerful and less street persona fit within traditional hip-hop molds. However, Chance's unique blend of sincerity, joy, and innovative musicality, showcased on projects like Acid Rap and the Grammy-winning Coloring Book, resonated deeply with a huge audience. He proved that hip-hop could be joyful, spiritual, and sonically adventurous, and that a unique, uplifting voice could carve out its own incredibly successful path. 17. Isaac Hayes. Born in Tennessee in 1942, was a monumental figure in soul music. He started as a songwriter and producer at Stax Records, penning hits for others before stepping into the spotlight as a solo artist. When he did, he redefined what a soul man could sound and look like. He was bald, often wore gold chains and flamboyant outfits, and his music was lush, orchestral, and epic in scope. His voice was a deep, warm, resonant baritone, but he often used it in a unique way, delivering long, spoken-word introductions or raps in the older sense of the word, meaning to talk that built mood and told stories before he even began to sing a melody. For audiences used to more traditional song structures or vocalists who primarily sang, Hayes's extended monologues and talk-singing style might have seemed unconventional. Was this a song or a sermon? Where were the catchy hooks right away? But it was precisely this innovative approach that made him a star. His album Hot Buttered Soul, 1969, with its lengthy symphonic arrangements and Hayes's seductive spoken intros on tracks like his cover of Walk On By, was a game-changer. Then came Theme from Shaft, which won him an Oscar, cementing his status as Black Moses. He proved that deep soulfulness could come from a spoken word as much as a sung note, and that a commanding presence and unique vision were incredibly powerful. 18. Little Richard. Known to the universe as Little Richard, was one of the true architects of rock and roll. Born in Macon, Georgia in 1932, he brought a fire and flamboyance to music that it had never seen before. His singing was a high-energy explosion of whoops, hollers, screams, and a pounding piano. He didn't just sing songs, he detonated them. Think of Tutti Frutti, Long Tall Sally, Good Golly, Miss Molly. The energy was electrifying, and the delivery was wild and intimately suggestive for the conservative 1950s. Many adults at the time, accustomed to smoother pop vocalists or more traditional R&B, were likely shocked and appalled by Little Richard. His screaming, his flamboyant appearance pompadour, makeup, flashy clothes, and his uninhibited stage presence were seen as outrageous, even dangerous. His vocals weren't about subtle nuance. They were about raw, unadulterated energy and a spirit of rebellion. Some critics probably dismissed it as noise or novelty. But the youth heard something exhilarating and liberating. Little Richard blew the lid off the staid conventions of popular music, directly influencing generations of rock, soul, and funk artists, from James Brown and Otis Redding to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. He proved that too much could be exactly what music needed. 19th, Bootsy Collins. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1951, is a legendary bassist, singer, and bandleader, best known for his work with James Brown, and then as a cornerstone of Parliament Funkadelic P-Funk. His own group, Bootsy's Rubber Band, took funk to even more playful and psychedelic places. Bootsy's vocal style is as unique and recognizable as his bass playing and his outlandish persona. He often uses various effects on his voice, sings in a playful, almost childlike manner, and employs a range of character voices and catchphrases like Baba. He's not a traditional crooner or a powerhouse soul shouter. Given his often silly lyrics, his over-the-top costumes, and his heavily processed vocals, some might have dismissed Bootsy as a novelty act or not a serious vocalist. Was it all just a gimmick to go along with the wild funk music? But Bootsy's vocals, for all their playfulness, are an integral part of his sound and his appeal. They exude fun, humor, and a kind of cosmic joy that is infectious. He showed that funk could be deeply groovy and profoundly silly at the same time, and that a unique vocal character could be just as important as technical prowess. 20. Sly Stone. Known as Sly Stone, was the visionary leader, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist behind Sly and the Family Stone. Born in Texas in 1943 and raised in California, Sly created a groundbreaking fusion of funk, soul, rock, and psychedelia with a message of unity and social consciousness. The band was one of the first truly integrated, multi-gender groups in American pop music. Sly's vocal style, and often the vocal interplay within the group, was as eclectic as the music. He wasn't always about hitting every note with pristine clarity. It was often more about the feeling, the energy, and how the vocals blended into the band's rich, multi-layered sound. But this very human, sometimes wonderfully imperfect quality was part of the band's appeal. Songs like Everyday People, Dance to the Music, and Family Affair, which featured a more subdued, almost weary vocal from Sly, became anthems. Sly and the Family Stone's music was about breaking down barriers, and Sly's versatile, emotionally direct vocal approach was a key part of that inclusive message. He proved that a voice that serves the song and the collective spirit can be more powerful than one that just shows off technical skill.